It's not too late to turn things around. I can see that you are either stumbling across this and you want to make a change for the better, and that's good because I am going to kind of walk you through 5 ideas that I came across when kind of understanding how it's not too late, and how we can kind of use that as a sense of hope and an inspiration for us to start our journey now and transition into conquering those mountains, and then continually conquering even more mountains, and then transitioning that into conquering life itself. I can see that a lot of you that come along to these videos to watch are between the ages of 28 and 30, 25 and 34. I think that's fantastic in the sense that you guys are tuning in and trying to make your life better, or come across or think of new ways to better yourself. So I can go across and share with you now or the lessons I learned, and kind of these 5 ideas I've reflected on to help you transition and start now and understand that it's not too late. So, of course, I'd like to start off with the idea of the time fallacy. And this can be really hard and difficult at the start, of course. For example, if we don't have an older male role model or a lot of guidance in terms of exactly what we should be doing and how we should be investing our energy and effort, focus, and time, which can then translate to like doing the wrong things and then feeling frustrated. So for me, for example, I at the start used to, or when I was younger, used to play like quite a lot of video games. So the thing about that is, I thought as a kid when I would do that, that would be fantastic because I had to think critically. It was had to solve certain puzzles in the game, but in reality, it wasn't as fulfilling as it seemed out at the time, and I kind of wasn't as aware of that as much as I am now. And the thing is, by kind of breaking down this time fallacy in terms of how we used to sync time into this, what I kind of want to explain with what I learned in terms of this first step, I'll kind of touch upon soon. So then what I would do is, when I kind of used to play a lot of video games as a kid, I kind of leveraged some of that and transitioned into picking up a yo-yo and playing with that and doing quite a lot of practice and thinking a lot of time, somewhat over 3,000 hours into it, as I was initially not very good, and of course wanting to get better and like compete in a way that was, I'd be able to feel quite proud of what I could put together, which then translated into kind of a greater sense of accomplishment and kind of more like the realization of the feeling that I wanted in the video game. So that's kind of like the starting kind of point, and then I kind of evolved that similarly into other elements like table tennis and sport. But of course, like the thing with the 3,000 hours, I guess you could look back and say, well, that kind of would have been somewhat of a waste of time. And at times I do feel that when I was younger. But if I kind of look back at that, it was kind of like a metaphor to like setting up a mini kind of sense of like how to aspire and stick to something, and how that can translate and reverberate into a great deal of progression, which can be something you can be proud of and actually realize an improvement and see that. And the thing with the time fallacy is, and what I kind of want to get to, is such that when you're starting something out at the very beginning, it's kind of like the first couple levels of a video game. The progress that you make is actually going to be quite great. So for example, when I was in university, I started doing some gym, and I noticed that like I was able to make quite a lot of progress in the course of, I believe it was a year. And that kind of was akin to, again, making a lot of those easy level ups in the start, because as you know, when you play video games, first couple levels come super easy, and then of course the higher up you get, the greater levels of experience that you have to gain to transition from one level to another. It's more slow. It's almost like approaching zero until you get to the maximum level. That's kind of like the time fallacy, in the sense that I want you to keep that in mind when starting something for the first time, or ever thinking it's too late for me to make that progress. See, for me, when I was younger, again, after this phase of going to the gym, I began to get into running and then also cycling. And now coming back into running and cycling again, and having that sense of how to plan my week, and having a better sense of setting up my life to allow me to push myself in those ways physically. Of course, the progress comes a lot quicker than you realize. Such that you are committed and consistent, you will achieve what you're seeking to achieve. So with the first point of the time fallacy, if the sooner you start and the sooner you get to it, you realize it's not actually that difficult to start making the first couple of gains. And then that progress that you'll get at the start, the beginner levels, will actually be quite addictive, which then will make you want to continue to come back, and then learning and getting better at what you're doing and figuring it out. You don't have to have all the answers when you start something, but the point of starting something and putting your foot forward, i.e. starting to conquer that mountain, will then reverberate into translating into an actualization of what you're trying to do, getting faster, fitter, leaner, stronger, quicker, for example. All these things will become realized more sooner than you think. And then I guess the second point we could touch upon is, I guess, of course, the idea of your environment. So what you'll want to realize is, when you're kind of going about this journey for yourself between these ages of, say, 25 and 34, you might be with a lot of people that are kind of questioning what you're trying to do, and then would kind of either undermine you or just kind of have snide remarks. And what I kind of want you to remember is, if you think you're starting too late, and these people will try to put you down at first instance because you're trying to make some type of progress or start something for the first time, you need to consider this. If these people were the idols that you're respecting or chasing to get better towards, i.e. athletes or competitive sports people, those people would actually not ever criticize you for making that first step and starting your journey or your transformation, because they understand the importance of hard work and how there's always something that could be improved. Even the top level athletes would understand that they have to train quite relentlessly. They have to do sometimes 2 training sessions a day in order to stay at the current level or progress to the next level. So when they would see someone, of course, starting for the first time, then they would be encouraging of that person. They wouldn't put that person down. And so in doing that, this is where you want to kind of leverage the idea of a community as much as you can, or kind of go along with friends that are on a similar journey or wanting to do the same thing, i.e. some other friends want to go to the gym with you or running, or find people that are already doing those activities and join in that group, because those people will probably be more akin to where you're trying to progress your life. They'll have more experience for you, better leverage off them, which will then result in you getting better and more confident in what you want to do. For example, the other day when I went for a ride, I joined and made some friends before I went out to effectively do my certain ride. Along the way, and then they showed me, of course, a different way to get to where I wanted to, and then some additional areas I can tackle in the Adelaide Hills, which was really rewarding to have that sense of accomplishment, safety net of having people to guide you so you can learn, absorb, and enjoy the experience, and then also kind of have a takeaway that's very tangible, like you have a new way that you can go, and you'll be able to get home safely because you've done the trip before. I think that's actually really, really cool. So there is that. So how else can you kind of leverage if you don't have a community around you that's into sport? Well, what you can do is you can simply start a Strava, which is free. You can track your progress, which is important from the start to see, going back to the first point about the time fallacy, how quickly you can make that progress and how quickly it's realized. And that will kind of give you more inspiration going forward to continue and realize, A, it's not too late, and B, my progress is coming faster than I thought, which is inspiring and again addictive to make you want to go further and further. And being around other like-minded people, or seeing and getting encouragement from people like either myself or others, you'll kind of feel more amazing. So for me, I will link my Strava below. And if you'd actually like to start a Strava account, of course, which is free, I'm not paid by Strava or anything, I can follow you and you can start doing runs. And it'll be cool to see kind of a community of us actually like following each other and kind of giving us that inspiration and seeing the progress that we're starting to make and being inspired by that. So if you don't actually have friends around you that are kind of doing something you wanted to do, seeing others that are starting their journey too will kind of give you that sense of camaraderie and accountability by posting on this. It automatically uploads pretty easily. You can have the Strava on your phone, you hit play, and of course when you're running it will tell you your time, how fast you're going, and when you hit stop, save, it uploads automatically. It's almost like a timer, but the timer is coordinated with, location, so it shows you where you ran and everything, which I think's actually like really cool. And now kind of like, before I get into my next point, I just want to double check my note. But kind of like to round off the point about kind of with the friends and your current lifestyle, you need to understand that when you're kind of coming from your current lifestyle into something that you're starting for the first time, there are going to actually be some level of cost and investment that's required. And I think you need to be embracive towards that. Like in terms of, for example, running, you might not have any running shoes. You need to get some running shoes. If, for example, you want to get into cycling, you'll need a bike, a helmet, lots of equipment. And of course, you're going to think, well, that's a waste of money. Why do I have to spend so much money? Like this and that, yada, yada, yada. But that's going to be important because that's what's kind of effectively allowing that new lifestyle and personality to flourish and develop, and realizing realizing that identity that you want to carve out for yourself and where your goals are going towards. That's what you're getting at. And of course, if you were to think of, for example, getting a PlayStation 5, which is $600-700, depending where you live, games, controller, everything else associated with that, an online PSN account, all these things, if you kind of think about it, that's an investment too. But or going out with some friends, a night out, drinking, going out to eat when you can, develop your own cooking skills. Well, that's also a money investment as well. Like, I think you need to kind of understand that it's okay to invest if we kind of already normalize investments in other things that are kind of more frowned upon, like excessive drinking or going out every single night, versus something that you know is going to be better for your health, getting a bike, riding to work, saving or commuting, being healthier, fitter. And then that kind of takes me to my next point. Again, people thinking it's too late for me, I can't do it, especially in this age group, or kind of feeling that there's others younger, faster, fitter than us. I get it. Fair enough. All right. But what I want you to consider is, an example, you can even look up his journey and story, is a person by the name of Rich Roll. Rich Roll started his fitness and endurance journey when he was actually the age of 40. And at that time, he was already, or previously, a former overworked, stressful corporate LA lawyer. He was a self-admitted alcoholic. And then after kind of obtaining a sobriety, he became quite obese and was quite unhappy with his life, and to a point that getting up a flight of stairs, caused quite a lot of heart or a real shortness of breath and like acute kind of stresses on the heart, which kind of made him want to change his life for the better. So then by the time he was 43, somewhat 3 years later, again, the time fallacy, he was at a fitness level that he would have thought would have been unobtainable. Being able to do, I believe, five double Ironmans across 5 days. I think, 5 double Iron, like an ultra event. He calls it the Epic 5, I think. 5 islands in Hawaii, 5 days, swim, bike, run, I'm pretty sure what it was. You can look it up. So like him, for example, is older than this demographic, but he's achieved something in actually quite a short realized amount of time. Of course, he's a family man too, I think, at the time. So he was able to kind of carve out this time for himself to have his own like self-development fitness journey, to kind of realize, again, get in those easy levels and then just keep compounding, and the consistency, because he was obviously addicted to that, or became addicted to that growth and kind of getting better, faster, stronger, fitter. He was able to realize these amazing fitness goals that he wanted, all these aspirations, and go on to achieve amazing things. Now has a podcast where he talks about fitness, lifestyle, and health. and has done so for a very long time, kind of at the start of when everyone was doing podcasts, way before that, right? Pretty crazy. So that kind of point about Rich Roll is that instead of being at a point of self-pity in terms of thinking it's too late for me, I can't achieve anything, we need to turn that around and realize it's not too late. The progress comes really quick. Being in the right environment to leverage off others and be inspired by others. And then also obviously spending a bit of money, somewhat of a capital investment to forge that new identity and have that to realize what you're trying to do in terms of conquering those mountains for yourselves, or even little hills, and then eventually you're conquering the mountain and then conquering the life itself. And I guess what probably we don't consider from this is, and what I've kind of realized every time, I take a bit of a break from my fitness, life gets in the way, and I come back, I realized that fitness, an early morning run, a bike ride, is simply what's known as a keystone habit, in terms of it's not just the run. You never kind of do a run and feel regretful after, unless of course you injure yourself on the run. But for the most part, you'll feel fantastic, you'll feel energetic, your brain will just feel switched on. You feel healthy. You want to eat better as opposed to if you had not done that. So you'll start to think now about, well, what food do I need to eat? I want to eat something, healthy to fuel me. I want to recover better. So you're starting to think about your sleep more. And then that will mean that you're building consistency and wanting to do it again and again and again. Or you'll research other ways to further develop your fitness routine. And that's kind of the snowball effect of, again, kind of at the start making, going up so many levels and kind of dispelling that time fallacy, because you'll start to get this, I guess, sense of addiction from these realized gains in terms of how not easy, but seemingly easy they are at the start, because it's so fun and everything. And that will kind of give you enough of a platform momentum to kind of feel the joy of, conquering the mountains and conquering life, to have you coming back again, time again, to continue to conquer those, to just keep pushing yourself further and further and further, which is what I'm trying to instill in you today. So of course, thank you for joining with me. Again, to kind of recap what we're talking about, first instance, time fallacy. As long as you start something and put effort into it, it's not like a complete waste. You'll be able to leverage off it, and you'll kind of be able to realize kind of what you're more geared towards, what you actually find most enjoyable. 2, you can, I guess, go alone or go with friends by leveraging off others that are in an environment that you want to be in. You'll be able to grow tremendously. Be able to go for a ride with more experienced people that can show you a particular path that you might not have never considered. So you can just focus on the exercise itself opposed to the additional factors. You can start a Strava community. Just sign up to Strava, follow me, Salvatore Condello. I can see you can see me. We can hold each other accountable. I think it's fantastic. It's free, again, not paid. In investment, you will have to pay some money to get running shoes, a bike, all these things. But the point is, you're going to spend money anyways on stuff that people would consider as accepted. So I'm giving you the permission to actually realize and spend money on something that will better your life for the long term, and then will lead to you making really fast progress. Again, dispelling the time fallacy. And then also, not only making that progress, you will be in a position where you'll be actually quite addicted to what you're doing, and you just get better and better and better, fitter than most people, and you'll kind of really be an inspiration for those around you by simply conquering those mountains time and time again, and realizing that time is actually on your side, and that it's never too late to start, and that you can make big progress. Again, thinking like Rich Roll, 3-year journey from being overweight and coming from a background of being an alcoholic, to transitioning your life to someone who's at peak level of endurance fitness. Like, that's crazy, in their 40s, right? So that's what I'm trying to instill in you today, to conquer mountains and conquer life. Thank you.